If you're thinking about relocating to Philadelphia in 2024, this video is for you. We'll go over the good, the bad, and the ugly about Philadelphia. We'll talk about the staples of Philly, but also some things that you may not have thought about. So stay tuned. Hey everyone, this is Chris Fuhrman, and this is my channel, Living in Center City, Philadelphia. Welcome. And if you're a returning viewer, welcome back. And if this is your first time to the channel and you want to learn more about what it's like to live and enjoy Center City, Philadelphia, make sure to tap that subscribe button below and click that notification bell right next to it so you're notified each and every time we put out a brand new video. We actually get a lot of people reaching out to us that are looking to relocate here to the Philly area, and we love helping them out on their journey. So if you're thinking about making a move, and you have any questions about the market, particular neighborhoods, condo buildings, streets, really anything at all, give us a call, shoot us a text, or send us an email, and we would be more than happy to help you out. All of our contact information is in the description below. All right, let's dive into my list of the top 10 pros and cons to living in Philly in 2024. All right, my first pro is you'll never be bored. There is so much to do in Philly. There's museums, famous museums like the Philly Art Museum that everyone knows with Rocky Steps, but many other small museums that you might not have heard of that are certainly worth a visit. There's a ton of art and theater here. There's the obvious renowned Kimmel Center, but there's also other smaller venues that are still worth seeing and that you probably haven't heard about. And Philly has a lot of unique, smaller places like that I could definitely recommend to you. And we've got a ton of sports teams, some of the best in the United States. Now, if you're a Dallas Cowboys fan, you might disagree with me here. But anyway, we got a lot of awesome sports. So if you like sports, you'll definitely enjoy living in the area. We got a lot of good rivalries here, and our sports fans, as you probably are aware, are crazy. Philly sports fans are notorious for some things we probably shouldn't be notorious for. But anyway, we get into it, and it just binds us together as a city and creates this awesome sense of community and culture that we have here. And of course, there is a ton of history here in Philly, so if you like exploring that, there are endless things to take a look at and to see and to really enjoy in the city. Obviously, we got a great restaurant scene here and nightlife, lots of bars, restaurants, cafes, lots of boutique places as well, not just the chains. If you really like the boutiques, there's a ton of that here in Philly, so endless opportunities there. So if you're a young professional, Philly is great. If you're a family, Philly is great. If you're an empty nester, Philly is great. All right, next up, the first con. Philly is a dirty city. Yep, Philly is a dirty city. While we aren't the dirtiest, apparently that's Baltimore, according to House Fresh, but we did rank 21st on our list, so not that great. If you're coming from a suburb, this will be an adjustment for you, but if you're coming from another major city like New York or Boston, we're at least higher ranked than those for cleanliness. The one great benefit if you're living in Center City in particular is the Center City District. Their mission is essentially to make Center City clean and safe, and to supplement what the government is already doing here. But some of the services they provide are to clean up dirty sidewalks and to pick up litter. So this is very much a benefit to the Center City area to make it cleaner and safer. All right, my second pro is the location of Philly. Philly is the most conveniently located major East Coast city. You can get to either DC or New York City relatively quickly on the train or by driving. So you can even honestly work in New York if you want, but live in Philly, that is an option. Or if you just want to take a weekend trip up to see the latest Broadway show in New York City, that's pretty easy to do for a weekend trip up there. And based on the location of Philly, there's actually a lot of nature and great trails outside of the city as well. So it's not just about what's in the city. There is a ton of green space here in the city proper, but you can also drive to many amazing nature trails for biking, hiking, other outdoor activities, really within like an hour or less of the city. You can get to the shore as well and enjoy the beach. So there's really a ton to do within an hour or so of Philadelphia. All right, and the second con to Philadelphia is our poor public school system. This is really something that we are ashamed of, or should be. The public schools here are pretty terrible. Don't get me wrong, there are some great ones, but on average, Philly is weaker than some of the other major cities out there. And this is a major area that we can really improve upon, and hopefully that happens. There are some good options here, again, for public schools in Philly, but you'll definitely want to do your research before picking out an area. Fortunately, again, Philly has a long way to go to improve the public school system here, but hopefully with some of the changes here, the new administration here in the city, hopefully we can see that for the prospering of Philadelphia. And our third pro is Philly is diverse with neighborhoods. As you probably know, Philly is known as a city of neighborhoods. Not just city of brotherly love, but we're city neighborhoods. And you really have the pick of the litter in Philly. You have so many unique neighborhoods to choose from, really each with their own flair and their own pros and cons to those particular areas. You also have your pick of housing options in the city, whether it's a condo or a townhome, small or large, old or new, eclectic or modern, stately or simple. You're going to have all of that in Philadelphia. All right, the third con to living in Philly is inequality. Although Philadelphia's poverty rate is improving, we're still pretty bad. We're the poorest among the major US cities. So there's going to be a lot of inequality here, and you're going to be confronted with that potentially, depending on your lifestyle. But that being said, our homeless population here is actually much lower than cities like New York City, despite the inequality. So you're going to have to wrestle through that and experience it by living in Philadelphia. All right, our fourth pro of living in Philadelphia is affordability. Philly is the most affordable East Coast city. Compared to New York City, Boston, or DC, Philly really is affordable. Obviously, we're not cheap, compared to maybe certain other areas. But if you're looking at major US cities, we are really one of the most affordable here, especially along the East Coast. We have better income taxes, and that's mainly due to PA's low state income tax of approximately 3%. If you look at New York, you're considering New York City, it's something like 6.25% if you're making 150 grand. If you're making 150 grand in Jersey, that's like 6.37%, up to like 10%. New York goes up that high too. Washington, D.C., if you're making around 150K as a single filer, I think it's somewhere around 8.5%. Don't quote me on any of this. This all could be completely wrong. Look at it yourself. But basically the point here is that New York City and a lot of these other cities have much higher taxes. So you'll have to talk to your own tax professional and figure out those things with the CPA or whatnot. But really, Philly is one of the most affordable cities for all that we offer compared to those other options here. We also have better rents, better home prices, and all of that in Philadelphia. Real quick, before we dive into our next con, as much as we love making these videos, we love helping people relocate to the Philly area even more. So if you're even remotely considering a move here in the next few months or a few years, it's never too early to reach out and get actionable information. So give us a call, send us a text, or shoot us an email so we can keep you up to date about what's going on here right in Philadelphia. My fourth con to living in Philly is crime and perception. Crime rates and the perception of safety, really. Philly has a bad rap for being a dangerous city. And we have the stats to prove it, at least compared to New York City or Boston. Now, that being said, Philly's violent crime is not widespread. And when you look at the data, it's actually really isolated to particular neighborhoods. So though we still have a bad reputation, if you look at the Philly downtown area, violent crime is actually very low comparatively. I've talked about safety at length in other videos, but suffice it to say, Philly has a perceived safety problem and not an actual one, in my humble opinion, based on looking at the data. Naturally, you got to do your own research and be aware of your surroundings, but my family and I feel relatively safe in the area. Of course, this isn't like living in a gated suburban community where there's no one allowed in. If you're looking for that, don't move to any major city, but comparatively for major cities, in particular the downtown area here is much safer than a lot of other areas. Obviously, doing research on particular neighborhoods and micro pockets of where you're looking to live, or reach out to me if you have any questions about that. I'd love to help you out. Now, if you aren't convinced about safety or how safe is Philly, just come and take a tour. Check it out, right? See if you feel safe walking around at night or during the day or wherever for the particular area, of course, that you're looking for. Text me and I'll show you around the city. Before we go on to our last pro, let's knock out our last con first. So the fifth con is we've got a drug problem. You may have heard or seen things on the news or YouTube about the opiate drug problem here going on in the Kensington section of North Philadelphia. If you haven't seen the images, spare yourself and don't look it up. But it's a problem, at least in this neighborhood, and it needs to be addressed. And unfortunately, the prior city administration has lacked the wherewithal, in my opinion, to know how to resolve the crisis, and it's gone out of hand. However, Philly's new mayor and new administration hopefully will be able to tackle this problem head on and get it resolved. Although Kensington is greatly affected by this, the city as a whole actually isn't in a crisis. It's generally isolated to that particular section of North Philly, as I mentioned. If you Google U.S. city drug problems, Philly's actually typically never on the list for the worst cities with drug problems. So it's not really that bad here, but it is a particular issue in that section of North Philadelphia. All of this culminates to my fifth and final pro here, that Philly is an undervalued city for what it offers. Based on all you get here living in Philly and the better affordability, it really is an undervalued city. Sure, there's room for growth, and we've already talked about that, and there's lots of room for improvement here, but Philly's got a lot going for it. And City Nerd agrees with me and says, it's absolutely wild to me that the city, Philadelphia, is still sort of under the radar. It's an obvious, more affordable alternative to New York, but it's fantastic in its own merits. Great transit, great urban fabric, all the major sports teams. It's a great underrated city. If you have any questions about moving to Philly, just reach out and we would love to help you out. My team and I here regularly interact with folks, again, looking to relocate to the Philly area, and we would love to answer any questions for you. Don't hesitate to reach out. And check out my Philadelphia Neighborhoods playlist right here to learn more about particular neighborhoods in Philadelphia.